time yet? Oh, it is 16. I'll sign them as we go. How's that? Okay, everybody all aboard? Council, it is Tuesday, May 6, 2025, 6 p.m. I will call this regular meeting of the Barre City Council to order. The second item on the agenda, any adjustments to the agenda, Mr. Manager or Council?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I propose that we replace item 4J on the agenda. There are no contracts this week, but I ask that the council appoint Cheryl Mativier as acting treasurer under item 4J. So the governor signed the charter changes that were passed last year by the voters, and so officially separated the clerk and treasurer position. We are in the process of posting the position, but in the interim, I recommend that we appoint Cheryl Mativier, who's been serving as treasurer, to that role in an acting capacity.
Okay, and you'll get a ratification for us?
Correct.
Next week?
I will.
Okay. Any adjustments by the council? Anything? No? Okay, under item 3, visitors and communications. Anyone wishing to address the council regarding an item that is not on the agenda? Hearing and seeing no one, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Kind of packed consent agenda, council. We'll be approving the minutes of 4/22/25. We do not have, the clerk does not have any office licenses and permits. We'll be making 2 volunteer appointments. One, David Sitchell, who is being reappointed to the Planning Commission, and the other is Norina Zanleone, who is being reappointed to the Cemetery Commission. Thank you both for your service. Yes.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I had another adjustment, which was to remove item 4D.
No, too late.
Yeah, this is about the Civic Center Improvement Fund, and at the request of the Civic Center Committee, I'm going to chat about it with them at their next meeting, so we'll consider this on the 20th as well. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Council will also be approving the Wabi Park purchase option extension and authorizing the mayor to sign. We'll be approving an informal recreation use of the city facilities by the manager. We will be approving Resolution 2025-05, which amends Resolution 2024-19 regarding expenditures of ARPA funds for the purpose of municipal workforce retention to pay for payroll expenses for a designated period. We will be approving Resolution 2025-06, which is authorizing an allocation to the Special Projects Fund. And lastly, we will be approving a special community development warrant. That will be to transfer some ACCD grant funds to Down Street Housing and Community Development for the Granite City Apartments. That will be a single complete draw. Any questions or comments? Yes.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I have just 2 small changes to the revisions to the minutes. I think it was probably just copied and pasted because under adjustments to the agenda, the second bullet says, the mayor requested to move item 8H regarding my contract. And so I think it's for the city manager's contract.
Correct.
So I think we should just note that. And then under consent agenda, under the third bullet, it says in the third line down, it says, I recommend that Liz be reappointed. And I would just say the city manager recommends that Liz be reappointed maybe, because I think it's coming from the city manager that was the recommendation.
Correct.
Those are just 2 little revisions.
No worries. So noted, and we'll make those changes. Any other questions or comments, council? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, thank you very much. Council, under item 4A, will be approving the city warrants, approving the week of 5/7/25 and ratifying the week of 4/30/25. A motion would be in order.
So moved. Second.
And whatever, take your pick. Is there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed?
And
Your abstention is noted. Thank you. Council, I am conflicted out of item 4B, so if you wouldn't mind, Councilor Stockwell, I'm going to turn it over to the manager, but then I'm going to ask you to preside over the vote and discussion. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay, so I'm just going to step away for a minute. Stand here in the corner next to the perpetual leather jacket.
Thank you. This item is regarding the acquisition of 277 Morrison Road as a new public works garage, and asking the council to approve a promissory note to codify the interfund borrowing. As you recall, we're proposing to pay for this with a $2 million loan from the water fund and then $1 million from the capital improvement fund. This promissory note will codify those terms for that borrowing from the water fund, sets a term of repayment for 15 years at 1.05%, which is the prevailing interest rate on the money we earn at the bank. And there's a resolution attached with it that is also required for the borrowing. So asking for your approval of this to allow us to proceed with this important acquisition.
So moved.
Second. That was easy. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait, sorry. Question.
Yeah, may I ask a brief question of the manager, and this may be addressed at a future meeting, but what does our timeline look like? Are we on the timeline that we had talked about?
We are looking, so we're looking at the permitting is likely to run into November this year, so we're probably going to be breaking ground probably in the next construction season. So I think that the permitting is going to be complex, doable, but complex for the use that we're doing. So that pushing things out a little bit, but had our first meeting with the engineers, and everything's looking positive. We've talked about the vision for the site. So everything's on track. It's just permitting's going to be probably a little bit longer than we expected.
Thank you very much.
Yep, sure.
Councillor Deering.
Can you talk a little bit about what some of the difficulties are with the permitting?
It's really just length of time required for it, the drawings that need to go into it. It's really just about the time. Yeah. There's nothing that we're proposing to do that's going to be controversial in any way. It's just a matter of finding the spaces on the site for the things we need outdoors, doing the studies for the new impervious surfaces will require studies for stormwater. So it's just basically all the elements add up, and just the time accumulates because of that.
Based on breaking ground in the spring next construction season, when do you think that we'll be able to move out of our current Burnham Street site?
Hopefully sometime next year. Yeah, because the good news is that we need just a few of those things to be operational to be able to start moving in, which is the doors, the ramps, and the drainage. So the idea is that those things, and some of those things might be able to even happen during the winter possibly. So that's the hope at this point.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Any more comments or questions? Once again, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? It is passed.
Thank you very much.
Your mayorness.
And you left out some good news.
Oh, yes.
O'Reilly had originally, back before I had made a decision, O'Reilly had asked for a 3-month extension on their lease. Their space in Berlin wasn't quite ready. Current lease payments are $22,083.53. So what I told O'Reilly when Nicholas told me the city's permitting would take about 6 months, I went to O'Reilly and said, we can accommodate a 3-month extension, but if you want a 6-month extension, we'll do that. And I was working with Nicholas the whole time. But I said, in order to get your 6-month extension, it's going to cost you $27,500 a month, plus you have to cover the insurance, plus you have to cover the property taxes. So, I mean, the good news is it'll be, give or take, 160-something thousand that the city will collect between June and September. So, without having any costs associated with the building.
Yeah.
So it should.
It was a win-win. It was great because otherwise the building would have been vacant. So this is terrific for the city.
So so it was, O'Reilly got what they didn't get quite what they needed. They got a little more than they bargained for, but they were still grateful. We still have a good relationship with them, and they understood what we were trying to accomplish, so it all worked out. So with that, council, we will move on to item 5, which is the city clerk and treasurer's report.
Okay, good evening. I'm going to focus on the election that is coming up on May 13th, the annual town meeting election. The designated polling location, for those who do not know or are not familiar, is the Barre Municipal Auditorium. The polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and they will be held on the main floor, the gymnasium floor. There is no voting, early absentee voting on the day of the election at City Hall. However, you are still able to request absentee ballots up until Friday. We feel comfortable mailing them out up until Friday, but once they leave our office, it's in the hands of the postal system at that point. You're more than welcome to come into the office to cast your vote. And we have 2 drop-off points that are right outside City Hall. One's in the back parking lot. It's a mailbox-style drop-off box, and then there's one to the right of the main doors. Feel free to drop your ballots off there. Currently, we have mailed out 329 absentee ballots and have received 171 ballots returned. And again, we'll send them out up until Friday. You're more than welcome to come in on Monday to cast a vote prior to the election, but on Tuesday, you do have to go to the Barre Auditorium. Secondly, your fourth quarter installment of property taxes is due on Thursday, May 15th. And because we are closed on Tuesday, May 13th for the annual town meeting day, please take that into consideration when you are paying your fourth quarter taxes. And that's all I have.
Any questions? Yes.
My question is, so people can request absentee ballots up until Friday. They're taking a chance that it will
taking
actually
a
get
chance.
delivered, because I don't receive mail every day. I'm not sure if you receive mail every day. I don't. And would it be a recommendation that they just drop it off at one of the boxes?
Absolutely.
Or bring it to the polling
polls.
place on Tuesday?
Right. And also, if you do request one and it's mailed on Friday and you do not receive it on time, you could always cast a vote. You will just sign an affidavit that you had not received the ballot, and we'll allow you to vote on Tuesday. Sure.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Just a curious question. Do you know how many people have registered to vote between the last election and this election?
I have not taken that count yet.
Just, was curious if you might have.
Thank you. Anything else, council? Okay, as we move forward, council, I'm going to be passing some documents around. If you would execute where, those are just some of the resolutions that you approved in the borrowing agreement that you approved that I abstained from. So I'll just need to have you all autograph those, and they'll need to go this way as well when they get to you, Councilor Stockwell. Thank you. Okay, I'll call the Liquor and Cannabis Control Board to order. Do you have some licenses for us?
I have 3. Cumberland Farms on South Main, 132 South Main, has applied for their second-class liquor license as well as their tobacco and tobacco substitute. They both have, both the PD and fire marshal approval, as well as the Cumberland Farms on North Main. Both are requesting the second class in tobacco and tobacco substitute. Thirdly, we have Gusto's at 28 Prospect Street applying for the third class alcohol license and outside consumption. All 3 have the police department and fire marshal approval.
Motion would be in order?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second, please. Moved and seconded. Moved by Councilor Bergeron and seconded by Councilor Deering. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, Liquor and Cannabis Control Board is adjourned. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple updates for the council. The Trestle Bridge, number 308, has been removed. This,
Moment of silence.
A moment of applause.
This appears to have occurred late last week, and I saw it yesterday morning that it was gone. So this is great news. Just for the public, just the background is this has been a priority to remove for several years. Its structure has been obsolete since 2019, and we reached a negotiated agreement with MOU to have it removed as the state considers a better design on that site. So really great news for the city as a whole, and certainly for people in that neighborhood, that bridge is gone. We are beginning preparations and planning for paving of Merchants Row. DPW crews will be ripping up the current pavement. That shouldn't take too long. And that is starting next week. And then our contractor from last year's contractor, Blacktop, is coming in to finish the paving, repave it on the third week of May. So we've been working with the merchants, working with the Opera House. There's going to be some slight disruptions in parking here. We'll be making a more formal announcement with better details in the coming days, but we expect to open up parking on Main Street at the Seminary Street parking lot for people who are displaced who park in this area. So just keep an eye out for that. We don't quite have the details from the contractor yet, which is why we don't have the plan tonight, but it'll be on our website, social media. This is a great time to sign up for Regroup if you haven't already done so, because that will be another way to get the message. So this is exciting. Looking forward to having that area paved here before the real beginning of summer. And then just two other quick reminders. The Bulky Waste Day is Saturday, May 10th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the BOR parking lot. This is a residents-only event, so please make sure you have your proof of residency, which can be a property tax bill, utility bill. If you're registered to vote, I believe Clerk Emeritus Dawes has volunteered to check voter registration list. So if you're registered to vote, you just have your ID and you'll be checked off. So that's an easy way to get in. It's a good reason to get registered to vote. And you can bring a lease also if you're a tenant. So make sure you bring your documentation. This is a city residents only event. And then the other reminder is just the Berrytown yard waste disposal site has opened for the season. The city pays for the right to use that season throughout the year. The hours now are Saturdays 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. and Tuesdays 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So there's a flyer both on our website and social media. Just really encourage people. It's been a really good partnership to keep following the rules for use of the site so that the town continues to want to partner with us on that. That is it for me.
Okay. Would you mind passing this
thank you.
down? Thank you very much. Okay, council, we'll move on to new business. We're on item 8A, which is our fiscal year 24 audit presentation. Rick, Mr.
Hey,
Brigham.
Tom. Hey, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you just fine.
Great. So yeah, I just wanted to take a few minutes tonight, kind of go through the audit report with you real quickly, go through some of the highlights, and let you get on with the meeting. So kind of looking at the audit report, obviously a lot of information here. It's 105 pages. One of the key things I always like to point out in this is this 105 pages is really the responsibility of management, the board, the finance staff, of putting all the information together, paying bills, setting policies, procedures, all that stuff that happens during the year to create this financial statement. As your auditor, my only real responsibility is dictated in pages 1 through 4. So let's just take a quick peek at that. So you're looking at, when we give an audit opinion, we have 3 different choices. We can give an adverse opinion saying the financial statements are not fairly stated. We can give a qualified opinion saying the financial statements are fairly stated except for something. And we can give the best opinion, which is an unqualified financial. Once again, the city has achieved an unqualified audit report for the 2024 year. I always like to congratulate my clients who get to that, because obviously a lot of other clients are working towards getting there. So a great job on management, staff, all getting to that level and having a clean audit report.
Hey, Rick, can I interrupt you for just a second? You're crackling a little bit.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can adjust this a little. Is that any better?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. It's just sounds like you're eating Rice Krispies, and I know you're not. You're a lot more professional than that. Thanks, Rick.
Yep. So I just wanted to kind of look at, if you looked at nothing else in this audit report, I'm going to have you look at pages 5 through 15. We're not going to go through it right now tonight, but if you were looking at nothing else for this audit report and wanted a kind of a summary of the activity that happened during the year in a user-friendly wording, this is what's called the management's discussion and analysis. It's great. Summary of what happened during the year. It's written by management there. We review it as part of the audit to make sure everything kind of gels with the rest of the numbers. So if you looked at nothing else, look at that. It's got some great explanations in there, what happened during the year, and some great information on fund balances and different funds and things like that. Just kind of skipping over to pages 18 and 19. So these are your balance sheet and income statements for your major funds during the year. You've obviously got your general fund, capital improvements fund, special revenue or special fund, and then obviously all the other non-major funds in that fourth column. So basically, if you're looking at page 18, it's a snapshot in time of where your assets and liabilities stood at 6/30/24. Obviously, a lot of this information is older by now, but the things I like to point out is in the general fund, you can see 3 quarters down, the unassigned fund balance in the fund balance section. You have an unassigned fund balance of 828,420. That's kind of the key number that a lot of people look at. And then, you're looking at your capital improvement fund. You have almost $3 million there, 2,784,000. And then the special fund, you have 996,805, where your ending fund balance is for those. So if you're looking at the next page, page 19, this is the income statement of how we got from last year's numbers or last year's fund balances to this year's fund balance, all the revenues and expenses for the major funds and the subtotals for all the non-major funds. And again, you can see how we went from a fund balance in the general fund of 1,108,000 to 2,163,811, which obviously ties back to your balance sheet on the page before this. The other thing I just wanted to point out, it's same kind of deal, pages 21 and 22. These are your balance sheet and income statements for your water and sewer funds. Nothing really stuck out to me to really talk about on these other than the fact, I think we've talked about it in previous years. The sewer fund, both of them have good fund balances, but as far as most of it, a lot of it in the sewer fund is tied up in capital assets. So you'll see there's an unrestricted deficit there of 1,980,645, because I think you have over the years have a lot of money tied up into fixed assets, which obviously goes into the net investment in capital assets. So there's some fluctuations there between reimbursements and getting some of the loans for some of the fixed assets that you've done. So that's more of a timing issue, but still always a thing to keep in mind, looking at the sewer rates and water rates and making sure that you're charging enough to have an unrestricted fund balance at some point in time. If you pages 26 through 68, not going to go through these, but these are the notes to the financial statements. So if you're looking for a deeper dive into your debt, into your interest rates and your debt, what cash is collateralized, what makes up your investments, what makes up your fund balances, these notes will give you a lot of information there that'll be very useful in going through, a lot of the balance sheet and income statement stuff in the other sections. But if you're looking, like I said, if you're looking for a deeper dive, go to this section. You'll get a lot of great information in there. Obviously, page 69 through 84, those are your budget actuals. You've been seeing those all year. I don't think there were any significant changes from when we came in to do the audit, so I don't think there's a lot of information there that you haven't seen throughout the year. So a lot of that stuff was pretty straightforward. And you go back to 87, 88, and the pages behind that, you'll see all the schedules for the special revenue funds, the capital project funds, things like the TIF, the drug forfeiture, community development, same kind of thing. You've got your balance sheet and income statements for those funds during the year. None of the fund balances struck me as one way or another as significant items to talk about, but all pretty straightforward stuff. As far as one of the other requirements for doing an audit or for reporting in an audit is we're required to report any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses that we noted during the course of the audit. I'm pleased to report that there are no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses that were reported during the audit. So there was nothing you guys needed to respond to on those. And again, congratulations on that. We probably had a couple little minor things on the on management letter, but those are other recommendations. They're not required to put in writing. We always do. Talks about putting in an internal control, a written internal control system, and stuff like that. So we've gone over that stuff with the staff there, so that should be pretty straightforward. Other things other communications I'm required to point out, we encountered no difficulties in dealing with staff or management. We had no disagreements with staff or management. No consultations with other auditors were done, and all entries we proposed were posted by management. So overall, I was very pleased with the way the audit process worked and getting the final reports. And I want to thank the staff there for helping us through it and getting us to a final product.
Thank you. Questions, Council? Well, I mean, Rick, what I see, speaking the language a little bit,
Yep.
is that even though, I mean, we're obviously challenged, but as I look at the ratios, look at our liquidity, look at where our debt is, the direction that things are going, they all seem to be trending in a positive direction.
100% agree. I kind of looked at it the same way today as I was going back over the numbers and thought the exact same thing. The fund balances are looking good, debt's being reduced, all the things you just mentioned make sense to me.
Fantastic. Yes.
It's more of a curiosity question than anything else, and you may not have the sort of scope of whatever to answer it. You said that not everyone gets an unqualified audit report. Can you reflect on where that puts us among other municipalities in Vermont?
Well, like I said, there's basically the three choices in the audit reports, and obviously the unqualified puts you up at the upper echelon with the rest of the municipalities that achieve that. I'm just saying that a lot of times when I'm doing audits, especially initial audits or the first couple of years of audits where they haven't had them before, there's a lot of transition to get to those points of being able to get to an unqualified opinion. So there's a lot of work that gets there, and you guys have done a lot of the work. And, I know the staff there has been dedicated to a lot of the, controls and putting in process and procedures to make sure reconciliations are happening. And that really is the key process in an audit, to make sure that work is done so that when we come in, we're hitting the ground running. So, and you guys are doing a great job of that.
So an unqualified opinion. So you could have a qualified opinion if you had something that wasn't in accordance with GAAP. And
Oh, 100%.
you get an adverse opinion, you got a real problem.
I totally understand the sort of distinction between, I'm just looking, are we in the top 10%?
I'm going to win.
I do, yes.
As you said, I probably don't have access to that kind of.
Yes.
My question isn't about, and maybe it's not actually regarding the audit, but on page 11, I think it's 11. Is it 11 in our packet, or is it 14 in our 44 in our 43 in our packet? It's the management discussion and analysis, and it's talking about the sewer fund, and there's a graph there about business type activities, revenues, and expenses. And it talks about the operating expenses increased 17.02%, or $532,965. And then sewer response and repairs are continuing to increase in frequency as our system ages, specifically repairs to the wastewater treatment plant. And I was just wondering if that discrepancy between how much we're spending, the expenses, and this may not be a question for you as the auditor, but maybe more for the city manager, the discrepancy between the revenue we're receiving and the expenses that we are having to spend, is it because of the aging sewer system?
Yeah, I'm looking at, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why they're kind of out of balance. And then, but we're working on the wastewater system.
We are, yeah.
So hopefully that will become more balanced.
That's the idea.
Okay.
Yeah, the plan operates very inefficiently. We actually just met with the superintendent of the treatment facilities, and they're doing basic things like reducing electricity. And when you do it at that plant, that has really tangible results, with 5 figures, right, Don? The council approved this is one of the most remarkable things, the roof for the sludge.
Yep.
To prevent we're building that roof to prevent the water from coming back to the sludge. That's going to save money as well. So there's all these things that that we're doing that will help even the headworks itself will make the plant more efficient, because it's part of the reason that things further down the line break down. So we're slowly getting there.
Okay.
Yeah, we're seeing the trend lines also there slowly bend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yes.
Because of the bond for the headworks, is that gonna make the financial picture look slightly dimmer for the next couple of years, we'll say, until things do turn around some more?
We don't know yet. I think it may be offset by some of those savings that we had. So it's once we get to we set the rates in August. So once we get a clearer picture of where we are, we'll know. They were certainly, things, the costs were going to go up because of the debt service on that.
Right.
But also we're seeing some of these reductions on the other end that will hopefully offset that in great degree.
Sure. Thank you.
Fantastic. Any other questions for Mr. Barre? Rick, great to see you again.
You too,
Thanks
Tom.
very much for coming in and for the very thorough explanation. You're
All right.
welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. I understand if you don't.
I thank you. Have a
Thank
good night,
you.
guys. Bye.
And that was, Don, thank you. That was a good audit report, and it doesn't happen without a solid accounting team. So thank you very much for that. Okay, council, we will move on to item 8B on the agenda. This is the Civic Center operations update. Mr. Manager?
Thanks, Mayor. And this is on the agenda request of Councilor Spalding. So in the packet, you had sort of a summary memo from me, and then Dawn provided me the information to place here as well for your reference, all the numbers behind the analysis in the memo. So as a broadly speaking, the Civic Center complex, which includes the Municipal Auditorium, the BOR, and Alumni Hall, it operates at a deficit. It has since at least FY14. So this is it's a pretty long-standing trend. In FY24, the overall deficit was $264,615, and this is primarily driven by just the staffing costs at the sites. And each of the three facilities independently operate at a deficit of greater degrees, $163,000 for the odd, $97,000 for the BOR, and $4,000 for Alumni Hall. The BO on the that's the expense. That's the overall picture. From the revenue standpoint, the BOR is by far the greatest moneymaker up there, revenue generator. The total rents at the BOR in FY24, which is last year for which we have the audited numbers, was $144,000. The odd comes in second at $75,000. Alumni Hall, pretty limited rentals, and that's at $6,451. So we've seen the auditorium rentals have been steadily going up. And we're hoping that the BOR had some recent dips, but we are hoping that continues to rebound, and certainly that the turf starts helping the numbers on that facility grow as well. We're already, I think, seeing a little bit better numbers this year, and part of that is because, as you recall, last year when we installed the turf, it was right at the beginning of April, and so that really had exhausted much of the prime turf season. One of the things we've learned is that once the weather gets nice outside and people can be on the outside fields, that we lose them to the outdoors. This year we had the turf on right at the end of the ice season in February. It's had to come out now because we're doing the upgrades and the highway shows there, so the turf did have to come up for that. But this season was already looking much better than last, and we're hoping that as people have more familiarity with it, and as we're able to extend the season a little bit more, that it gets better. We're also hoping that sort of on the back end, right before the ice goes in October, that we capture those people once it gets darker outside, that they'll want to come indoors to the turf as well. We've also, in the fee schedule, created a couple of new options to make it a little bit more accessible to people in Barre. So for example, we created the new birthday party rate that hopefully encourages more people to use that as a place for the birthday parties, because the rental fee was a little bit too high for people who might need to use it for that purpose. So all in all, we are, you see the numbers here, the trends have been pretty, as I said, pretty consistently in the red. These are important facilities, though. They are, a major source of activity in the city. We also, for example, even though they're not moneymakers, but I think they're still really important. We have open gyms at the auditorium for kids who can basically come in and pay for, they can drop whatever money they have to play, and we have a volunteer who operates it. So that's a really good, particularly wintertime activity for people looking for a place to recreate. The auditorium, of course, as well, is our emergency shelter, which unfortunately has had too much use over the last 3 years, but it's also an important facility for that perspective to keep alive and well. And I think that was about as much as I wanted to cover. I think the last point, which really hurt our bottom line, was we lost cell tower revenue in, Don, was that 23? I forget, 23 or
Started
23 in
losing
the
it
letter.
back in 20.
20, yeah.
Contracts started, we had multiple contracts up there.
That's right.
And the contracts were not renewed. They found alternate
That's- yeah.
locations. And I think 24 was the first year we actually
Correct.
had no
Zero.
cell tower
Yeah.
revenue.
So they-
For the
they-
first time in as long as I can remember.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. We were at 107 in 2020, which was makes a huge difference. And Mayor is correct, 24 was the first year with zero revenue on that front. So that obviously hurt the bottom line up there. But you have the numbers in the packet. Happy to answer any questions about the situation up there.
Councilor Guston.
Do we realize any revenue when it is activated as an emergency shelter?
I don't believe so. No.
No,
No.
The only time we did was during COVID.
right.
Right.
Doesn't seem quite fair to do that, but I wonder if there's some negotiation with the state that could happen?
Yeah, I mean, we don't staff it. I mean, what we lose is the electrical and water and sewer from the people who are there. So I think we may be able to quantify that, but we definitely don't staff it, which saves us that cost. We may have some foregone revenue from events, but fortunately or unfortunately, the times it's been in use, it tends to be when the auditorium is not a major rental attraction. It's been in the summer. So I don't think we've necessarily lost all that much. I'm not disagreeing with the point, but we also, I don't think would say we've lost a ton of revenue from it.
And one thing it does do, it does qualify the city for certain grants. For example, when I believe it was the generator was installed, I believe that was, I think that was an emergency management grant, and we were able to successfully apply for and receive that grant. So, we have seen some enhancements to the facility as a result of the city's willingness to make it available as a shelter. And so I get it. This isn't the first time I've heard this discussion. It's an expensive facility, but I try to think, well, okay, what would the city, when you look at the shows, Nicholas just mentioned the highway show that they have every year, and I think, well, what would the facility look like without it? Or what would the city look like without all of the activities that happen at those facilities? We could close them. We would eliminate some positions, and even with the positions you have here, they are mostly assigned to that facility,
Right.
but not exclusively. I mean, some of the labor, the personnel costs that you see are spent at other areas of the city. Not a lot, admittedly, but they're not all exclusively to those facilities. Councilor Spaulding?
Thank you. I wanted to thank you for this report, and I have a couple questions about I think our recreation program, I keep pushing for a more robust recreation program, and I wonder if other communities that have a more robust recreation program are able to generate more revenue and have it be more neutral, cost neutral. Do you know if that's the case?
I don't know if, Dawn, if you know, I don't know what I don't know if they're breaking even on it.
Okay. And I don't think that, I'm not suggesting that our, civic center should be, a moneymaker, because I think it's part of the, it's one of the benefits of living here and being able to, just be in our community and play basketball and hockey and take advantage of those facilities, use the turf in the spring and summer and fall. But at the same time, I worry about the continued maintenance for these buildings and how we can maybe make better use of them. That's really why I wanted to see this, just so we could understand better. Because I'm also concerned that these numbers only go through, obviously, 2024, and we're putting in the manifold, is that right?
Correct, yeah.
We authorized money for that, and so I think that's going to put us further in the hole as far as expenses versus revenue.
That was capital, so that won't, oh, that was ARPA, thank you.
Okay.
So that won't hit this is general fund.
Right, but when we continue to put money in and we're using special project funds like that, that's maintenance that we're taking from somewhere else. So I'm just, I'm sort of like rolling it around in my head, how can we make this work better? And I know this is a community that I'm sure there are plenty of families, there are plenty of children who could use free or affordable recreation opportunities, and how can we make sure that we're providing those for the people?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. In fact, when I've been in touch with people who are active members of those groups like BYSA, like BASA, Black Bears Hockey, one of the things I talk about is we're open for business, and by that I also mean that if there's groups that are willing to make activities broadly available for nominal or no fees, especially to Barre City children, that we have a sunk cost with the staff, and so if that means that we have to pay them, whether we might have to pay them some overtime, but generally speaking, we pay them anyway, right, to be employed here. So if we can donate the space in order to get programming, we're open to that, and that's one of the reasons when the Coyotes were coming, to the auditorium, that's going to help the numbers moving forward for the coming years. But in the past, I believe the Frost Thieves got a 70% reduction in the rate of the rental, which we honored for the Coyotes, but we also said it's really important for us that you do programming that's free and accessible to kids. So that's one of the other elements we added to our contract with them, which is we want you to do clinics and camps and things where we can open up the auditorium for that type of event. So our door's open. We're open to any sort of proposals to provide free or low-cost programming. And if our donation can be the space, we're happy to do that. And so our goal is to have it be open and used. So we've, from time to time, we've, if we haven't been able to have a cashier for Stick and Puck, we've opened it anyway, right? Like, we're not rolling in money from Stick and Pucks or from Open Turf. So our goal is for people to come as much as possible, enjoy the facilities and hopefully come back for more. So it's an open call for anyone who's willing to work with us. And honestly, if somebody even wanted to organize a soccer league, it may take more than a spreadsheet with some names and some scheduling, but even that, we're open to working with people to not make it be cost prohibitive so long as the building gets used.
Can I follow up? The other idea that I had, because when we did that, please remind me, what was the name of that focus group where we came up with the three, the housing, the river access?
All in for Barre.
All in for Barre. And the one that I was on for like a hot minute was community center. And I keep thinking that the alumni hall would be a fantastic place for a community center, because it's a building that gets some use, but not necessarily used every single day, all day.
Right.
And I think that there's offices there now, but maybe those are some of them.
There's offices on the first floor, there's conference space on the second floor, but the third floor, I think we're vacant now. I don't think there's anybody up there. Oh, Jim's up there, yeah.
But I wonder if we could maybe think about using the space differently and offer space for a community center, kind of even just dipping our toe in the water of how we could do that.
Yeah, I think we certainly be open to, we need a willing partner to do that. And so I think if there is a willing partner that can, run a safe and consistent and engaging programming, I don't see why we wouldn't talk to them about that. Yeah, that'd be terrific.
Thanks.
Councilor Stockwell.
City manager, do you think the deficit trend is supportable for the city?
Certainly, it's tough. It's tough to support it. I think it's necessary. I think those facilities are important for the community. We have to do what we can to, and we have to do what we can to minimize it. And we're probably close to the levels where it becomes more challenging, right? But I think that at this point, at these rates, it's more valuable to have those facilities be active and functional than to not be. And one of the things I would worry about is that, I think about it from my kids' perspective that, I can afford to enroll my kids in Black Bears and other sports, right? And they can go recreate in Northfield and Waterbury and whatever. There's a lot of kids whose only recreation might be coming to the open gym at the auditorium. There might be some kids whose only recreation is coming to open skate at the BOR. So I think that from that perspective, it's also, important to keep those facilities open and accessible, even if we're running deficits to do so. I also worry that if we had to make difficult decisions about shutting them down, the trajectory would just be that they become abandoned, buildings that we then are albatrosses around our necks and become just bigger problems down the road. So I think that it's probably, as painful as it is to see big deficit numbers, it's, I think, better than the alternative.
I agree, we need to invest in our children, we need to give them a place to come to, but are there things that you think we can do, going back to Councillor Spaulding's idea, are there things that we can do just to make it a little bit better?
Well, that's what we're doing now. The money appropriated, the specific congressional appropriation that Senator Sanders was responsible for getting the city. One of the things that I've heard consistently for 20 years, because like I said, this is a good discussion. It's not the first time we've had it. In the summertime, the rentals in terms of folks wanting to have a convention or a show at the auditorium, and Councilor Bergeron certainly knows that, they plummet. Because, on a sunny day, even when it's 75 degrees and the sun hits that roof, it's 85 degrees in that building. And with no HVAC, that was always the reason that if you look at the activities that occur in that building, on rainy days, we've got kids playing basketball, that's a great thing. But in terms of our ability to rent the facility to an organization, to have a trade show there or to have a convention there, it's just non-existent. Simply because of two big complaints I heard, and jump in anytime, Councilor, because you've heard them all as well, HVAC and condition of the restrooms.
Correct.
Were the two biggies that, it was just the facility. And everyone loves the facility. Everyone loves everyone. Who doesn't love going to watch a basketball game at that facility? And so those are the things that I think about. I'd rather make the investment, obviously losing the cell tower revenue, that was a big hit for the city. That was 6 figures, and that was a big hit. But I think now with the opportunity to install HVAC, better restrooms, I think the facility has a much greater future. And, there's a part of me that thinks, okay, it's running a $250,000 deficit. How much money is our fire department making? How much money is our police department making? No offense, but how much money are you making? It's part of the cost of running a city. And I think, even if we were to close, for example, the BOR, it would be the end of something. It would certainly be, if we didn't have ice at the BOR, there isn't enough ice time throughout central Vermont to accommodate all of the schools that are here now. We obviously control the destiny of our local programs because we give them a priority. But we have other schools who are looking for ice time. We have other leagues that are looking for ice time. So, like I said, these are hard discussions, and it's hard as a counselor and as a mayor to see these numbers and say, well, geez, we could do something different with this money. But I really believe that if we were to consider closing these facilities, we would do so much harm to young people who have opportunities to play and to play soccer and stick and puck and skate for free. I think we do a lot more harm than $250,000. Yes.
I perfectly agree. I agree with you. However, I think that we need to think about ways that we can bring in other groups and other families. And not just in the auditorium. I think the auditorium, that's not huge, but BOR, reversing BOR would make a big difference. And I think Councillor Spalding's question about how could recreation change that is a really excellent question that we might want to think about in the coming time.
I agree.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, of course.
Just wanted to add, the turf project was something that was really instrumental in making sure that that building was being able to be used year-round. And it's something that we really haven't been able to see that pay off yet, but we're going to see that continue to pay off. They're going to continue to grow, and it's going to be an investment that we made. And I'm really confident that we're going to have some good numbers in some of that stuff. But also to get rid of the value that that brings to our community for so many children would be detrimental for so many. Like Nicholas talks about, without having a place for kids to go and play, go play basketball sometime at pickup game at the auditorium with the kids there. It's a blast. And those kids aren't going to be able to go to Waterbury or go to even Northfield to play ball. There's really no good local basketball courts to play. And when you can go up to the auditorium, which is a historic center, and play basketball with your friends and just kind of mess around and have fun, those are memories that you just won't ever forget. They make you love Barre and want to continue to serve Barre.
Thank you. Any other questions, folks, or questions from the audience? Don't see anyone, so we're going to move on to the warming shelter update. You can all come up. If there's not enough chairs, just bring them.
Hello.
How are you?
Please don't judge me by my PowerPoint.
Would you mind introducing everyone for the record?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm Tess Taylor, and I am the Homelessness and Housing Liaison for Barre City.
Ed Fry, a volunteer.
Carrie Freiberg, volunteer.
Earl Cooper, camp pastor of the Church of the Good Shepherd.
All right, so I did a little PowerPoint. It's not as good as Nicholas's, but will do. And I started out with a timeline. The city of Barre put $6,000 into the budget for a person to fund staffing and other expenses for a warming center, and the need was great. We had a little blip with it for a couple of years earlier, with the library had been doing the task of a warming center, but they didn't want to do it. Staff was pretty, felt pretty much, and I agree that the library has the whole community there from 11 o'clock in the morning till 6. And so, that somebody else should take it on. So we did. But before we got started with the warming center, I got together with Kristen Bauman, who's the director of the library, and Brooke Pouliot, who is with the police. She's the outreach person with the police, and talked about, we had a bunch of different things to talk about for our homeless community, and we put together a group of service providers and also members from the church community. And so I put out a big call, and I thought, if a couple dozen people show up for a lunch that I was giving, that would be great. And 45 people showed up. So I saw that it just has been really heartening that this group has been getting together for quite a while now. And so one of the things came out of it was, how were we going to do a warming center? And we thought of a bunch of different venues, and thought of lots of different things. And then we settled on that the Church of the Good Shepherd would be a good place to go. People know where it is, and that we would get service providers, and we would get volunteers from the churches to come and man. And with that $6,000, we hired Keith Bumps, who I was hoping could be here tonight. But Keith is, we consider him a staffer. And so we started on November 4th. Was it It was November 4th. And we were open 3 hours a morning, 5 days a week. There's one of our volunteers right here, Counselor Dustin, as well. And actually, I see Peter Anthony has been on here. He's also one of our volunteers. And so we started 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. One nice thing is the library agreed to start opening up at 10 a.m. in the morning. So lengthening their hours and us adding ours was really going to work fine. So, so there we are. We started offering coffee and baked goods, and we got a lot of donations from, we've gotten a lot of donations from people for the warming center. All winter long, we've been getting clothing, shoes, boots, blankets, coats, hats, hand warmers, lots of socks, and that have been really appreciated so much by our guests that come. So we started up, like I said, November 4th in 2024, and we officially ended on May 2nd, but we've actually decided to stay open till the end of the month. Got a little extra funding coming and to pay Keith, and we reduced our hours from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. It's working really well. People like to be there to rest, to charge their phones, to do a jigsaw puzzle, to just hang out and talk. And like I said, occasionally we have a service provider come in. We've been having them from, we've had providers from Capstone, from Washington County Mental Health, from Pathways, but especially the Turning Point. We've had a really super duper person from the Turning Point coming twice a week to talk to people about anything they want to talk about. So I think I have my numbers in here. We've had over 1,200 visits to the warming center so far. Average daily count is about 10 people, with as much as 18 or 19 on any given day. Talk about what we provided, but also I wanted to mention something here that I didn't put in here, that we have over 400 hours of volunteer time. That's also part of this, which is really speaks so well of our community. And, all right, I listed our partners, amazing partners, and our budget. So City of Barre contributed $6,000. We to date have had donations of $1,405, totaling $7,450. And our expenses are just about that, with staff, supplies, and utilities. So it's been a great experience. I don't know, I can't say enough things about the people that I've met and the experiences that we've had through this, through our volunteers and our service providers, but especially our guests. And I think that's it.
Yeah, I'd like to add, first of all, I am so grateful to the City of Barre for helping us to do this. I think it's really made a great improvement in the quality of life. We were having some difficulties with people on the street, but now people have a place where they feel welcome, where they can just either get something basic like a cup of coffee, but mostly some just good human contact. And I think it's just kept the level of disruption down quite a bit. As I mentioned to the city manager, we have not had to call any emergency services in at all. It's a low bar, but you want to clear it, and you did. We've also, in addition, really out of this came a couple of times during extreme weather, actually more than a couple, 10 times during extreme weather, where we did some overnight sheltering as well. And we had some pretty extreme nights this winter. And so I was very happy that people didn't have to be outside during those points. Times when the library was closed either to holidays or because of weather, our volunteers stepped up and we were able to stay open all days on a couple of, actually a few days as well, to really provide a warm, safe space for many of our unhoused residents. So the volunteers have been incredible. The city's support really made it happen, so I am greatly appreciative. I think it's made a real difference in quality of life in Barre this year, so thank you.
Well, we're the ones who should be thanking all of you.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, and even with a multi-million-dollar budget, it's not always easy even to write a $6,000 check that you know you don't have. But our $6,000, you mentioned 400 volunteer hours, Tess, our $6,000 wouldn't even cover half that. So if it weren't for the volunteers, if it weren't for the 45 organizations that did come together, our $6,000 would have lasted about 2 weeks. And then that would have been that. So, you know, I'm very proud of all of you, thankful to all of you for what you do. I mean, it's tough when you sit here because you know that you're not doing enough and you want to do more so desperately, but we also have to pave roads and fix potholes and replace, you know, vehicles, and that's hard. So without people like you, without your volunteers and all of you, it just wouldn't work at all.
And we've also probably, by the time we close at the end of the month, we'll have leveraged about 50% in donations as well from what the city gave. So your money actually, you got a lot of bang for the buck.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I just didn't know if Ed wanted to say anything at all, or?
You never know what these folks go through when they don't have someplace to go. They'd come in the door at 7 o'clock and I'd say, where'd you sleep last night? Sit in the car. Of course, if the car door was open, we'd jump in because it's below zero. We've had some stories where they come in and they cram their pockets with food. They didn't bother us one bit because they know we're going to eat it. The saddest thing I ever saw, though, about a little after 7 o'clock in the morning, 2 girls came in, 18 to 20. They sat at the further table in the back of the church, the basement. One came up, grabbed a muffin and the coffee, went back, kept to themselves. About a half an hour later, here comes this lady, maybe late 40s, and she's looking all around, and the girl says, Mom, over here. Just killed me. There we are. We had a homeless family. They had no place to go in front of us right there. You think of some way that you can help them, you know, besides bringing him home. There's 100 stories like that out there in just 2 or 3 months over at the church. And thanks for everything that you've helped out with us. It's certainly helped us a lot. Probably more so than any other part of the city government. Realizes what's up, you realize it's out there. You don't know until you really see it. I never knew it existed.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Questions?
Actually, I think Bern had her hand up
Oh,
first.
Bern, did you have a question?
Then me, then me.
Got it.
Hi. I wanted to add my gratitude to what you all are saying about the program. This morning, I was sort of at loose ends trying to figure out what I was going to do. And a couple of times during the winter, I've just dropped in for breakfast. And one of the best things that happens is that it's a community. When you step in the door, it's a community. It's the volunteers, it's people coming in. They know each other. The guests are people who have come to know and trust each other and being in a safe space. Some of them get up and do the dishes. People volunteer and make food. And I found it to be a really pleasant thing to go down and to just say hi to a part of my community that I wouldn't see or know otherwise. And recognizing that the people that are volunteering and the people that are coming in all have equal value in that space and are appreciated by each other. So thanks, Earl and Tess and everyone for doing this great job.
Thank you. Councilor Stockwell.
I just want to know what you foresee as needs coming up.
unfortunately, I think we're probably in for some really rough economic times. And I don't see things getting any better. So I think we're gonna need to continue, find ways to continue this, definitely when the weather gets colder, but even if we can come up with funding to make it all year round, because just, some people begin to find a little sense of dignity and worth, and that makes a real difference. I mean, if you feel like somebody cares about you, then care about yourself and care about your community, don't go out and do whatever you shouldn't be doing. And so, the real need is that, like Vern just said, forming a community and finding a place for that to happen.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just want to say how grateful and thankful I am for all that this whole community of people do together. I mean, it's awesome to see how many participants there are, how much generosity, how everybody takes turns to welcome people. I stand in awe, and I thank you for it.
Yes.
I would echo both of those, all of the gratitude that's been expressed. And the question that I have is, I was thinking about the church that I go to, which is Heading, and how they added, because they were an overnight shelter, and they added laundry facilities and a shower. And I wonder if there's a way, because, if someone's there for 3 hours and they could do a load of laundry or be able to take a shower, wouldn't that be an amazing way to start your day if you don't have a place to do that? And so I just wonder if there's a way we can just continue to expand and provide more services for people.
That's part of this whole,
Good.
that's part of this whole group that we're pulling together for lunches to talk about. And that's exactly one of the things that has come out of that we're just working out a schedule right now for Keith to, I think the best way we're gonna do it is to have set hours, and Keith will kind of supervise, but there also will be, I don't know her yet, but there's a woman that wants to volunteer, so we'll have male and female. Because sometimes people have to wash what they're wearing.
Yeah.
So my thought is, we have our volunteers there, we get some bathrobes.
Yes.
And somebody needs a bathrobe, it's like you use it, you give it back, and we'll just throw it in the next wash. And just keep doing that so that there's a way to really utilize that. And Heading is, I mean, they can't wait to get started, so we just have to figure out the schedule, but it's very close to happening.
Great, glad to hear it.
Any other questions, council?
I just wanted to see if Carrie.
Of course.
Well, I just wanted to maybe reiterate that the volunteers get as much as they give in this endeavor, and I think that's what makes it work. I think we are really building community. I don't know if you recall, in September, the Barre Congregational Church called a meeting because we were so concerned about activity happening in our neighborhood, our church neighborhood around the park. And we were scared. We were concerned and nervous about what we were seeing and hearing. And soon enough, the warming center opened up because it was already in the works. And now I don't feel as threatened as I did, because now I know people's names, and now I can wave to people, greet people that I see, and now if I am concerned about someone, a fellow volunteer will say to me, "Oh, you don't need to be concerned about that," and that kind of sets me straight. So I think that's just very important, that when you're trying to do something good, you need to make sure that the people who are giving get in return, and we certainly are.
I think so.
Yeah. It feels really good, and it feels really good for the churches to be working together instead of separately. So that's been a big benefit too.
Yeah, so for the rest of the month, it's Monday through Friday, 8 to 10. I expect to see every one of you down for one of those times before it ends. Please.
Damn good cup of coffee.
Really good cup of coffee.
Just come drop in. You don't
Yeah.
need to stay for a length of time.
Yeah,
Just come drop
It's-
in and check it out.
it's just pretty awesome.
We'll be there.
One of the things I think is that, harking back to sort of the situation we're in, 9 months ago, it's changed, and we're not hearing, or I'm not hearing at least, any kind of, some of the complaints and worries that we were hearing before, and I think it's because of what we've been able to do. Now the weather's gonna get warmer someday, and, there will be more people out, and so but I'm just hoping that what we've been able to accomplish will continue to sort of keep things nice and copacetic, and then we'll start again. We'll pass the money again, we'll start again when the weather turns cooler.
Yeah. As grateful as you folks have been tonight, the people that come and use the service are incredibly grateful as well, and they express that daily.
Yeah, in many ways. Yeah, yeah. And I don't think I could end without saying how grateful I am to the Aldrich Library as well, for all the work that they do. Believe us, they generally go over there.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Council, I'm going to move, if there's no objection, I'm going to move the second warrant hearing up. That was scheduled for 7 p.m. We're running just a little bit behind, so council, we're going to move momentarily to item 8E on the agenda, then we'll move back to the flood resiliency plan update. I do that to you almost every time, don't I?
There's a logic
And you
to
still
it.
smile, so thank you for that.
It's fine. We'll get there.
So council, I will call this second hearing of the warned City of Barre 2025 charter changes to order. You want to go through them, Mr. Manager?
I can introduce
Or
them.
Madam Clerk? Doesn't matter to me.
Sure, there's three proposed changes that have been placed on the ballot by the city council. The first relates to making the clerk an appointed position, and in the packet, that is the language highlighted in yellow. The second is to make a change to the provision in the charter about the sale or lease of property to allow for such conveyances to be signed by either the mayor, city manager, or any councilor authorized by an action of the city council, and that's the language in your packet in blue. And the third change relates to the fund balance that the city may retain, and it's increasing it from 5 to 10%. And just as a more of a technical comment, this hearing is occurring after the ballot has been warned, so this is really, that we can't change any of the language you see in the packet. The hearing is an opportunity for members of the council or the public to speak to them however they wish, but the language is set and it's printed on the ballots already. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Thank you very much. Of course you may.
Carol Dawes, former Barre City Clerk and Treasurer. And I won't take a lot of time, but I didn't want you to think that this public hearing was a total waste of your time. I will just continue to share my thoughts with regards to the clerk position. I think it's vitally important that it remain an independent elected position as it is now, and I'm encouraging people to vote no on Article 3. If you want more details about my thoughts, they were in an op-ed last week in the Times-Argus. I think it was Wednesday. So I invite you to read those over, and I'm happy to answer any questions from anyone here, or if anybody in the public wants to get in touch with me, I am reachable. And no matter what, I encourage people to come out and vote next Tuesday. If you haven't already, I've already voted. So.
And that is Article 3.
Correct.
And I couldn't agree with you more. Vote no. I learned, Carol, sometimes you can take elections for granted. You can take the integrity of an election for granted. I tend to have a sense of humor at times, and I learned to never joke with you while you were presiding over an election, that it was serious, and if I made a joke about stuffing the ballot box, you would just smack me on the back of the head and order me out. But I came to appreciate, you taught me how important that is, so that when you have elections, you're not questioning them. And that tradition has continued with Cheryl. You certainly taught her well. It's always of comfort to know that you're just a phone call away when we have questions, because a few times we've had questions. But as you've said, and I think what is so important, it's incredibly important for the city clerk to be an equal to the city council. The city clerk and the mayor are the only positions that are elected citywide. And I don't believe, I absolutely agree with you. The city council, there is a huge danger in this council or a future council appointing the person who's going to preside over the elections. I want to keep it, and hey, you know, I don't think the voters always get it right, but they're always the voters. Just like when you're in business for yourself, sometimes the client or the customer isn't always right, but they're always the customer. So I haven't forgotten that. So thank you very much.
One of the things, one of the last lines in my op-ed was exactly what you just said, that it's important that the clerk work with the council and not for the council.
Agreed. One of the other ones? Oh, the other one, the mayor one.
Yeah,
So the mayor one is simply, the charter used to say that the mayor had to sign any real estate documents. So if the mayor wasn't here, the real estate documents couldn't get signed. So we're just changing that. So city council says, hey, if the city's going to lease something or do something, they can designate the manager, they can keep the mayor, they could designate a council.
And it's still at the action of the council.
Yep.
And it still requires council approval. It's just they then can designate who the signer is. So.
And, you know, with regard to the fund balance, I hope the voters can trust us. I mean, you heard it from the auditor this evening that while our finances remain challenged, you know, with buyouts and with flooding and all the challenges the city has faced, we're still trending in a positive direction. So when people come to me as a CPA, when small businesses come to me and they say, how much money should I say? I'm a small business. How much money should I have in my savings account? So if something goes wrong that was unanticipated, I can cover it. And a general rule of thumb that we give small businesses is 25% of your annual expenses. So if your annual expenses are $1 million, you should have $250,000 in the bank. The city of Barre, if we were to follow that same formula, the city of Barre is only allowed by charter to have $50,000 in the bank. So if we had $1 million annual budget, we could only have $50,000 in the bank. It simply isn't enough. It used to be zero, and I appreciated it very much during my first tenure as mayor when the voters actually went from 0 to 5%. I was honored. But if we've learned anything over the past 2 years, even a 5% fund balance in a $12 million organization can evaporate very, very quickly when there's a natural disaster. So it's needed, and I'm hoping that people approve everything except for Article 3. I hope you vote no.
I was talking to someone the other day about the increase in the fund balance and why. And a big part of the reason is it helps even things out. You know, the municipal government can be a roller coaster. You know, God forbid we see additional flooding in the future, and what that does is that messes with the fund balance. If you've got to cover $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 worth of flood expenses in any given year that you haven't planned for, having the fund balance allows you to make those coverages and keeps you even. You don't have to then impose tremendous increases in the tax rate to account for it. So having that fund balance gives you that rainy day fund, that opportunity to even out the ups and downs. So.
Exactly. Any questions or comments, council? Don't see any comments or questions in the audience, so I'll declare the hearing closed, and we will move back to item 8D on the agenda. This is our flood resiliency plan update.
Thank you very much.
Councilor Guston, it's all yours.
Thank you. We'll have a PowerPoint up in just a moment.
Second. Navigating. Okay, ready to go.
Perfect, thank you very much. So if you could move to our first slide. Great. So you all know by now that we've been doing a flood resiliency update at every council meeting. We are coming up on 6 months. Next Monday will be 6 months exactly since we adopted the flood resiliency plan generally. And within that plan, we called for 1 to 2 sections scheduled for updates at every council meeting. With 21 key goals that will ensure that each goal is reviewed at least once every calendar year. And we also committed in that plan to do a full review every 6 months. So this presentation tonight is sort of the very first piece in that review to look back at what we have done so far, what we have talked about so far, and to lay out the beginnings of a process for updating. Since this is the first time we're doing it, we're spending a little bit more time on figuring out how to do it. Good, next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move pretty quickly through these next couple of slides because it's text heavy, but it's in the packet. If anyone wanted to see them, I went back and I found when we updated which section of the plan on which dates. And just for note, I consider these substantive updates. We talked about all sorts of things beyond just these substantive updates, but these were the things where we actually got like real conversations on or real significant new information on. So next slide, please. And then we go through the winter. Next slide, please. And then bringing us up to just last week. Okay, thank you. So that is a count of 18 total updates over the last 6 months for updating 15 out of 21 goals for those substantive updates. And then I went back and I tried to like count 5 more goals, got sort of passing updates or mentions. Kind of thing. And then only one goal was not touched on at all in the last 6 months, and that is our goal to schedule ward meetings and have street captains. Next slide, please. Okay, lessons learned. We're actually doing really well. We've been updating a ton. We've been making progress. It feels really good. It's been great I've spent the last like 2 weeks or so like really digging into all the pieces we've updated and looking at the plan carefully, and we're actually doing really well. In total fairness, we did front load the plan with stuff that we knew. Some of it was in progress, but some of it was also like, we had no idea we were gonna take down the trestle apparently in the dead of night last week when we wrote this plan. That was still a complete like pie in the sky hope when we wrote this plan. So we've even done some of the tough stuff over the last 6 months. So another lesson learned is more focus on spreading out the updates, and even if repeated on updates on important projects will happen. When I was looking back, and you can see them in the slides, like sometimes every council meeting, we got updates on some piece of it, and then we would still do an update on another part of the plan. So that leads to the third bullet point, which is that more planning ahead leads to more substantive and sort of well-paced updates. So we're learning more about sections updated in the plan and not cramming in like 15 updates on little pieces of the plan. And as I point out there, that's a human error by a counselor. I was just getting used to what it looks like to figure these things out 2 to 3 months ahead, working with the city manager, trying to like scope out what was coming down the pike and what made sense and what may or may not be ready in time. And I think we've started to hit a good rhythm with that. The last couple, when I looked back over the updates, the last couple of like the last 2-3 months have been trending in that direction. So next slide, please. So here is my proposed schedule for the next couple of weeks of council meetings. Tonight, we're reviewing past updates with council, starting a public comment process, which will include public meetings and a survey for feedback from May 19 through 30th. I expect to once again do the camp out at a downtown cafe and be available for comment. We'll share the flood plan on Front Porch Forum and in other venues for people to look at and ask any questions they have or pitch anything they have. And I'm hoping also to schedule an evening or a Saturday morning meeting at the library in that. I haven't got that nailed down quite yet, but I'm hoping to be able to share that very soon. At the May 20th council meeting, I hope to sort of review the process by which we'll update, by which I mean I have been updating a Word document I've been redlining, doing track changes on a Word document saying we updated this date, here's progress on this goal, this, that, and the other thing. I've already worked on the PowerPoint for that, hope to have a conversation about what does council consider a completed goal? Do we consider the DPW garage a completed goal as an example? We just heard some updates from the manager tonight. So how cautious are we going to be in declared things completed or moved off the plan, and have some conversations about things from the future goals? I've sort of looked at some tentative future goals that might make sense to move into the main part of the plan and pursue, have some conversations about what criteria council wants to use for working all that out. By that point, we'll have some very initial feedback of public comment, but we'll also continue to get it. On June 10th, I scheduled like a really substantive conversation, hoping for a really substantive conversation on the updates, and that's where we get sort of the like put it into a semi-final format of, yes, these are the things that I think are done. These are the things I'd like to move forward from the future projects. This is something I'd really like us to put on the future projects, so maybe 6 months from now it does move up the list kind of thing. And then I am projecting out June 24, 2025 to adopt the updated plan, which will be about 7.5 months from our first, but we did in the plan say it would be updated every 6 to 12 months, giving ourselves a little leeway there. And as I said, because this is our first time doing the process of updating the whole plan, I wanted to really space this out and give us all time to see what it would look like to work through that process, have a really substantial amount of time for a public comment period. The more it appears on the council agenda, the more people have the opportunity to react to it and reach out. So I do not necessarily expect November to look like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks of this conversation again. There may be a slightly shortened process in November, but who knows, maybe we'll all enjoy this so much we'll do it again, we'll see. So that is a lot of talking. Any feedback on that process or anything so far?
So you mentioned removing things when, for example, you said, Public Works Garage. Do we consider that accomplished? Well, not even close. Getting there, but but would we move things? Would we actually move things off the plan, or would we have an accomplishment section where
Yeah, we have a completed project section that they will move to. They're not leaving the plan. Nothing ever leaves the plan. It moves to completed so that we can show a record of what we've done.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Yes.
I was wondering what you were thinking of for updated goals, if there are particular areas or particular things you want to focus on that you think would be good to have the council's focus on.
I can look to briefly the tentative outlines I've made for the meeting on the 20th and list off a couple for you. Just a second to load it. So it's a conversation about what we consider done, some other changes to the plan. I'm sorry, that was the wrong PowerPoint. Hold on one second. I know, for example, I will say out loud to you right now that one of the things that I would like to move forward out of the future projects is one about, the greening up city activities. So choosing electric vehicles when we have the option, looking to increase the city's energy efficiency overall is a very small piece, but it would be an important piece of our overall goal. Other ones that, there we go, some other suggested for inclusion, there's my thing, I'm sorry. Improve emergency access to the public safety building is one that is listed in future projects right now that I think could be included, because that's that building that back road so that it can get out to Main Street. Development of Wabi Park. Another conversation we can have is whether we consider the Seminary Street development, which is a piece of the flood plan, completed. In which case Wabi Park might be a great fit for that spot under the housing section. Develop a plan for regular maintenance and cleaning out of stormwater systems throughout the city is currently listed in future projects, and that could be a good one to move up into the main section. Focused on abandoned and derelict housing is one from the future projects that could move up. So there are quite a few things in the future projects section. Those are a couple of the ones I had tentatively tagged as something that feels sort of ready for conversation. Maybe there's already been some conversation about it, or we might be in a place to develop some conversation about it. So those are just a couple. There's fun statistics that I'm working on for the future meetings. I don't want to give them away just yet, but there's, I think, some robust conversations to be had about which ones we consider done, which ones we'll hold on to for a little while longer. And there's a few that we haven't done enough work on. So those may be future focuses, yeah.
And I'm hoping that we have a great flood mitigation plan so far, but that takes care of one area possibly that we need to continue thinking about that and making the city safer.
Safer, I'm sorry, in terms of?
From flooding.
Okay, thank you, yeah.
So, one area I'd like to see us prioritize over the next 60 days is convening, and we thought we'd have the opportunity. We got a little email chain going there saying, hey, we'll have a trestle party when they start ripping the trestle out. And like you said, who knew they'd show up at midnight and have it gone by 5 a.m.? So it kind of seemed that way anyway, but, I think we really need to refocus on the north end. We had a little bit of momentum going, and we seem to have lost it. And the Wabi Park project, great project, the Trestle, great project, those are all within the north end, but we haven't had that broad discussion about the north end and how we add more projects so it's not just the Trestle, not just Wabi Park, not just some infill. What is the overall plan? And understanding that, like this flood resiliency plan, we'll be revisiting it likely every 2 to 3 months because things change, priorities change, availability of grant funds change. Hopefully those will change positively for the city in the very near future, and I'm hopeful for that. But so if we could do that, if we could prioritize a neighborhood meeting for the north end to just start really talking about, you had mentioned in the email having just whiteboards where people can draw on it. I actually have an 8x10 mural of the north end that you can put on a board. It turns out that if you call this company and you give them a Google map, they can actually blow it up into an 8x10 poster. So I had that done. I'd like to give people the opportunity, for feedback and to start taking a very definitive direction on the north end. So if we could do that, I would be appreciative. Thank you.
Just for the record, I still want to have the trestle party, even though it's gone.
I'm going to find the trestle. I had this vision of selling pieces of the trestle, like chopping it up and raffling them off. And all of a sudden, believe me, I'm not hurt that it's gone. I'm hurt that I didn't get to wave goodbye. That's all. It was fast. Yes, Councilor Foley.
I just want to say thank you to Councilor Guston for her continued work on the plan. She's going it alone at this point because her partner in crime is no longer here. So I appreciate that your continued work on it. And I think that a lot of times people who maybe don't tune into meetings or don't read articles in the paper feel like we're not doing anything. So I appreciate these frequent updates and reminders of the work, however small it is, that we are doing to continue to move our community forward. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So Council, if there's nothing else, we'll move on. This is item 8F on the agenda. We need to create a subcommittee to identify a Vermont Community for Rural Development Leadership Summit nominee. Don't need a subcommittee. My nominee would be Councilor Guston.
Oh, wait, what?
Now, we didn't discuss this beforehand, but Amanda, I've told you this time and time again, you do the work. And I've done this for a long time, and it's not this is 1, 2, or 3 hour meeting every couple of weeks. This isn't the work. The work is everything that you do outside of the council chambers and the phone calls that you make. And like I've told you before, I respect people who work hard, and you're working very hard at this. So in terms of, I mean, we're going to send the manager anyway, so, you know, he's going to be there. But in terms of, you know, if we had to identify, as I read, you know, the outline and the type of person you wanted to send, I said, well, they're describing Councilor Guston and how hard she's been working. So that's, so you can go ahead and do a committee, but that's my vote. So, do you want to have a committee? I don't know. Yes.
I agree with you. I thank you for all the work you've done, not only with this project, but for so many projects. And I think it's astounding how much you get done. So I agree with you.
Have you read the outline, Councilor Guston?
I'm
Can
very.
you make it?
No, I'm very familiar with the conference. I usually do go, so I guess my only, first of all, thank you, it's very flattering. If, I was already planning on going, so if a staff member would benefit from the free attendance, I would be okay with nominating it. We could do that.
Is your, no, and listen, I'm fine with that as well. I mean, what I'm interested in is, you know, bang for the buck. So if you were you already going through work?
No,
Is that a work thing?
no, I was going to just pay for it. It's fine.
No, I don't, well, and that's where I would say, look, I'd rather send 2 people. And I suspect your work here on the council will continue for a little bit. Or, anyway, that's kind of my vote, once you see if we have it. What is the cost for the?
I don't know if I have it on here.
I didn't.
I have to look it up.
I didn't think it's all right. But we'll, you know, if you're willing, I think we'll figure out a way. And
I am
like I
willing,
said, the
yes.
manager is likely going to go anyway.
We'll
So-
carpool.
And it is, and having been before, it is a fantastic opportunity to network with other people around the state as well. So I'll likely be there, but I'll do that on my own. So, yeah, we'll figure it all out. You guys still want to do a subcommittee? We want to just figure it out. We'll just figure it out. Okay. Upcoming business, council, going to just defer that from now. We've got elections coming up on Tuesday. But I think we've talked about some upcoming business, so I don't think we've really checked anything off our box. Is there anything immediate that anyone can think of? Sir?
Mayor, if I may?
Of course you may. Ron Tallman, I always have time for you.
Thank you very much. It's that time of year, Mayor, and again, it's coming up for our Memorial Day service here in the city. And it'd be an honor for us to be able to have the use of the facility at downtown at the park. We'll be starting our parade as we always do at the auditorium. In case of inclement weather, we'd appreciate if we could have the indoors if all possible. I have presented my paperwork to Cheryl the other day, or if it was today, I'm not sure. I've been so busy. Okay. So this is basically our request, and we'd like to be able to put that on. And my other part of this request is that I'd like to ask you as our guest to be our guest speaker for Memorial Day.
Absolutely. So, council, anyone care to make that motion?
So moved.
Thank you. It's
Second.
moved and seconded all over the place. Take your pick. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Ron, thank you. You know, it's kind of an evening for thank yous. You do so much for veterans. You always have. When a veteran is in a crisis, I've called you before, many years ago.
Yep.
Late at night, and you came.
Yes, I did.
So thank you for everything you do.
It's been 48 years I've been doing this.
How many years?
48.
Nice.
You'll make it to 50. I'll have a gold watch for you.
Thank you very much, and appreciate it, and we'd love to have the council join us that day, okay? I mean, it's an honor, the city, for what you all do for this community is amazing. So thank you very much for all that. And Nicholas, as you as well, please.
I'll see you there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Thanks, Ron.
Always good to see you, buddy.
Yep, that was good to see you. And your dad is always before me, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your time.
Under roundtable, I'm sorry, I asked the question, Council, whether there was anything urgent that you wanted to see on the next agenda. Otherwise, I was just gonna, okay. Then we'll move to roundtable. Counselor Stockwell?
I went to Primo Maggio, which is a great event in Barre, and there was a good speaker about the importance of Francis Perkins in creating Social Security and just making it possible for families in the Depression to have a way forward. And so that was great. It was great to be there and see all those folks, and it was a terrific time. The other thing that was really exciting to me lately is to see the road closure signs. I know that that means that work is coming, and it's thrilling. And I'll pass.
Counselor Spaulding?
I wanted to thank Counselor Chambel for her service. This will be her last meeting, and I'll miss seeing your face across the desk. So thank you for your years of service to Ward 1 and to the city, and Godspeed in all the fun things you get to do now, with all your Tuesday nights.
Thank you so much.
Counselor Bergeron?
I had the pleasure this weekend of going up to Burlington to watch the Granite City Blast boys 5th, 6th grade basketball AAU team pull out a state championship for Barre.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's most of these kids are the same kids that are going to Cooperstown this summer.
Nice.
So nice bunch of boys.
Fantastic. Counselor Chambel?
Okay, well, this is my swan song. So I'm going to just read something I kind of put together. I'm really honored to have been a part of this group. I've learned so much about the underworkings of this city and the inner workings and just the lovely, lovely community in which I live. I love the honesty of Barre. I don't know that all communities get this, and it goes both ways, but I, at the end of the day, think it's spectacular and love that. Since I've been on council, I've seen a lot of really productive conversations. Sometimes they go south, but they usually come around, which is really nice to see. I also think the community has changed since I've gotten on council. I think there have been a lot of new community members, a lot of people who want to participate. When I first started coming to meetings, we didn't have that screen, I don't think, or maybe we did. I think we did. But there weren't the numbers of people who were in the audience. There weren't the numbers of people who were up there. And I think that's great. I think we have to really work hard and harder at listening to our constituents. There are a lot of people with a lot to say. Back to the honesty, the delivery may not be beautiful sometimes, but there's a lot to be said. And I really encourage listening and trying to appreciate the the dynamic conversations, just that. I think they really take people places if you can sit through them. Over the last year, the floods, all these things we faced over the last year have been what I would think almost insurmountable. It's been heartbreaking. It's been financial losses for people that are incomprehensible. And what's been beautiful is seeing how it's come back, how many people participated in putting things back together, city employees, fire, police, community members, people really performing what I would consider miracles, listening to some of the stories some of the guys in DPW said. I'm also really proud of the work we as a group have put into working on the floods. I really appreciate the fact that we did not rush to rebuild. And I know it's been excruciating for people to do that, but I think our decision to do the hydrology study, to understand the water and how it flows underneath us and how it affects us is just essential if we're going to really rebuild well, which I think is the desire. I think it also helps us understand the communities around us and how they affect us and how we affect them, and how we could probably take advantage of that to open some conversations. And I just want to thank all of you for everything you do, how dedicated you all are to the city. I want to thank you, Nicholas, for having the energy to get up every morning and face what's in front of you. I think it's awesome. I appreciate how much you've worked with the staff and how we've all worked to make really hard decisions and get a lot out of the money. And just echoing what you said, Amanda, and I'm sorry to use first names, it's just what I'm doing. Just how many things we've accomplished is really astounding in light of the finances. It's just amazing. You know, you've got the DPW building moving forward. You're looking at water issues, you're looking at sewer issues, just all these things that have hit us. And somehow we're doing it. We're moving forward. It's going well. So keep it moving. Stay nice to one another, and no mute buttons. Just listen to each other and laugh. Yeah, laugh. Yeah. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Guston.
I mean, I don't know how I can follow that. Thank you, Counselor, for your service, truly. And for not judging me too hard about my garden.
I don't judge people's gardens.
That's good for me,
Not my
really.
place.
I am looking forward to the last workshop in our series this coming Saturday with a Storm Smart property assessment and a conversation with Barre Up about their future planning. So I'll be spending literally every open hour at the Aldrich Library this Saturday for those activities. So I posted today on Front Porch Forum about that workshop, and I hope people join us.
Thank you. Councilor.
I just want to say I'm absolutely overwhelmed by the outreach from people for my son's heart procedure. It went well, and just really blessed, really thankful for all the support that many of you have reached out, many in the community as well. And it just really was very heartwarming, not only to me, but to my family as well. So just, I'll end with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Schambell. Mel. I remember when you called me and said, I'd just like to have a coffee with you. I don't really know you, and I'd just like to get to know you. I thought it was a trap. It wasn't. And even though we've had some differences of opinion here on the council, we've been on the opposite sides of issues. We've always laughed about it on the way out to the cars after the meeting is over. And that's so important when you work with people, to understand that people are simply going to have differences of opinion. And you have your conversations here in the council chambers, you have your vote, and you move on. And most importantly, you put it behind you, always. And you always have the ability to do that. So I will miss having you sit to my left, and I thank you for your service.
Thank you all.
And to those who came out for Green Up Day, thank you. You know, I've never been so happy to see trash on the side of the roads. But no, people really, they were out there, and it was not a fun day. It was cold, it was wet, it was miserable. And so to have people show up anyway and still get it done, thank you so much. And then last but absolutely not least, to all of the moms out there, happy Mother's Day on Sunday, because anybody who's anybody knows that the moms really make it all happen. For years when Alex and Miranda were little, and if Karen wasn't around and I was watching them and I would try to discipline them, they'd look at me and they'd say, "You're not the boss. You don't even run the companies. Mommy runs everything. You're just the worker man." And it was true. And, you know, there's nothing like a mom's perspective. And so to all of you moms out there who are still raising your kids, even when they're in their 30s and their 40s and their 50s, and still doing your mom thing, happy Mother's Day. Have a great day, and make them take you out to brunch or something. So with that, council, I don't think we need an executive session. Don't ruin the moment. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you.